trucks, more business. But I don't know exactly, does anybody have like, know how to word that, or?
How does that work with you?
I'm not hearing you object to that possible condition.
I'm
Are you
curious.
saying no expansion at all, or unless it comes back for site plan review?
Special use permit. I'm saying,
Would be
if this is all vacant right now.
Right.
Instead of adding on anywhere on this, you're gonna go here.
Right.
Nothing can change the footprint of this.
Ever,
I'm
or,
just saying.
He'd have to come back and get a modification of the special use permit, just like
Okay.
Esther.
Have to
You
go
know,
on a
if
like
you're gonna do
review
anything
process.
different. Right.
I just want to be back here in a year from now and you're adding 20 or 30,000 square feet. I'm saying, this is what we're approving.
exactly.
Yeah, and if you're gonna go, you're
Oh,
gonna
no,
go.
yeah.
We said that hours, the Monday through Friday.
Okay,
was
so
parking check.
the applicant has no, I don't know how to word
The
it.
expansion, thing, I don't.
Building
have a problem with.
expansion,
No building
Will be
expansion.
permitted.
I think that's, yeah.
Make
any-
it simple.
Under the terms and conditions of this particular special use permit, no
No expansion of the
expansion would
exterior.
be granted.
No expansion, again, I wanna be clear that it's on the footprint of the building, we're not.
exactly what I wrote.
Yeah.
Any any expansion of the building
The terms
Footprint.
and conditions of the special use permit.
will require,
No, it's not approved, it's not permitted.
yeah, it would require site plan approval and modification.
I wouldn't do that, I would say expansion.
You can't prohibit him from
You can't
applying
be-
for something ever.
No,
Modification
I
of.
agree with that.
This is just a recommendation.
You might not get it.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think that would ever be enforceable. You can't tell him he
I know.
can't avail himself of what he's allowed to do. You
I
can
don't-
deny it if you chose, but you have to at least give him the option
But
to
conditions,
ask.
special use permit is no expansion.
So, you know, part of
With-
proving is proving that he's doing the right kind of work, that, you know, if he ever wants to expand. It's not that he's doing within, following within
But we're
his
just-
special use permit.
I think we're, as a board, you know, we're saying there's plenty of square footage there to achieve his means and to have a successful
Especially if you kind of use
enterprise.
all that.
And I think the impact on the neighborhood and the community, if this footprint expanded, you're talking more truck traffic, and it could be an issue with the community and the neighborhood. That's the point I'm trying to make. I don't know exactly how to put in the verbiage, and I agree, it's a legal thing. We can't tell somebody you can't build somewhere, but you have to apply for a new permit.
As they all
But
should
it-
anyway.
But if you go back to the permit, it's specifically stated, the boards do not wish this to be expanded. I don't know exactly from a legal how to word that, but it's, I know the other board is sensitive to that also, and they'll probably have to consult Jim Campbell or somebody to deal with that. Sure,
You can word it one of two ways. You can word it in the positive or the negative. You could say that any expansion, any future expansion of the footprint of the building would require site plan approval and modification of the special use permit. Or you could say in the negative, no future expansion will be allowed without site plan approval. It's the same thing, it's just a choice of your words. I don't think you can ever tell somebody you're never gonna expand
I
there.
think it doesn't sound right, I go with.
You can go either positive or negative, it's the same sentence, so,
No, I think you're right.
but definitely get it. So you're up to basically 4.
Any other conditions or comments?
I would like to see a condition around, I know certainly as you dial in your process, you will be tweaking things, but one of the reasons that I think this is a reasonable site is because you're dealing with basically inert process. And this is another question of language. I would like to put a stipulation that any process change or new products at this facility that would involve volatile organics or anything other than the existing process would have to go under review.
That is probably stated in that letter from
I
I
think
think so.
he has to get a special use permit based on what he's saying his process is now. If he changes his process, unless it's something that is already currently allowed in the district, he would have to come back for a different special use permit or a modification of the one he has.
So we are covered.
I think so.
Okay.
Well, we don't say that, we could still word it if you wanna be particularly mindful of the fact that
Is
you're,
it belt and suspenders? I don't remember.
you know,
My concern is when you start putting in all the things that are already covered, if you omit one, then, you know, you've set a precedent of how you're wording your
So-
restrictions. So I would rather go by what, you know, if it's already covered in the letter, already covered in the process, let's not specifically call it out.
Basically, the DEC letter states that right now, the proposal, there's no discharge of anything. If that ever changes, he has to go to the DEC and get a speedies.
Bless you.
That doesn't really kind of cover you for if the technique changes or anything.
well,
If you
that's what I
discharge-
thought he was getting at, was it change to the process?
That's-
ZBA is only going to be approving this particular process as it's being described in the application. If something comes in that is not an allowed use, they would have to modify the special permit or ask for a new one
Correct.
under the new stuff. But you can say that if you want to,
It's just recommendation to the.
well, that's what I'm saying, if you want me to write it down, tell me you want me to write it down, because it doesn't hurt you to write it
The-
down.
The question, there was some question initially whether the process was actually gonna work, and you're convinced that it will. Because that's part of the whole, that's part of the whole
That's the whole
process.
premise.
Yeah.
It's a new
And if
technique.
it doesn't work, then what do you got?
Well, then I
You know?
understand.
Then what have we approved?
He's getting approved for what he's asked for.
I
That's the
understand
gamble
that.
he's taking, because if
Right.
it doesn't
Right.
work, then he has no permit.
Then
to
he
do
goes back to
anything else.
square
Yeah.
one. Then they have to come back and have to apply, well, we're changing our process, it's no longer this liquid nitrogen.
Like if they went to
Well, that's-
traditional
so that-
crushing, that's a whole different animal.
That's what I
Absolutely.
want, that's
They
what
are
I
not
wanted.
permitted, that's
Right.
not what we're granting.
Right.
Okay,
I guess one of the things that really
I wanna
makes
make sure about
it
that.
better is the
Well, this has
ice
changed so
jet's
many
quieter.
times.
That's
I
why
mean, it was
I'm
outdoor
confused,
crushers, now
yeah.
it's an ice jet that we've never done before.
Mhm.
It's changed this much along the way, I can understand why James is bringing that up.
Yeah, I mean, obviously have been working all along to minimize the dust and impacts to the surrounding area, but, the whole reason that I was in favor of this to begin with is the fact that it is not a noxious process.
Right.
So wouldn't it be right to cite what DEC has written in our proceedings? Because that's part of what we're accepting or
The
recommending.
C Corp process, that letter is part of this, part of the record,
Okay.
a C Corp.
I
Is
just-
there something you wanna add to
So it
it?
doesn't have to just be discharge, just like they were talking about there, it could be just change the machinery.
Well, he's even saying if the binder changes,
Yeah, I'm
You
just, I'm just wondering whether we're protecting ourselves enough by not having that in there.
I think OSHA will have some play in this too, I'm sure. I mean, they will,
Probably.
I don't think it hurts you to put it in the.
I,
put it
that's
in-
what I'm saying.
we'll come up with,
I don't know, I hear what you're saying, David, I'd be concerned that there might be other stuff, but we wanna make sure, if we have it all covered, it's not, is it any different than covering the trucks or a lot of the other stuff in the ratio?
You could make it,
Because this is actually really critical to our acceptance, because it's a process we're not,
I just
we're not
think it's-
accepting,
I just think it's
all the
fine,
pressure.
but I can go,
Yeah,
would you
The
want?
difference with the trucks was we were putting stipulations around hours
I
and
understand,
numbers
yeah.
and like that, which is not.
this is a process that's much
Right,
different.
which is already stipulated in the
Yeah.
application, but that, we can say.
Doesn't hurt to reiterate that.
So if we
Well,
reiterate, do
well,
we talk about?
My point is, if you're gonna go down that road, whatever you don't reiterate then is up for question. But, no, that's fine,
Well, you know, then what else is there? What would those other things that we need to put on?
See, that's my concern.
Is anybody else even concerned about making that kind of a statement?
Well,
I got two, and I've got five that are.
let's just do a case scenario. Say
What if the ice jet doesn't work?
the applicant, all of a sudden, he's not using that type of technique, and he changes, then that would be a code issue. Code needs to go in there and say, this is not what you were granted site plan approval and special use permit, and then he's shut down. Then you go to court.
But you also gave, part of this is the research end of it, the Cedar Creek thing. That's the research end. So maybe they're tweaking stuff, you know, maybe this didn't quite work, we're doing this. So that's what I'm saying. Maybe you wanna say that you don't wanna change the process or the machinery and any change.
We don't wanna change with it. He's being approved just for that one technique.
You also approved Cedar Creek on the plan. You said that was research.
I wonder how
That's the-
detailed we can get it. That's the other side of it. You're right, Dave,
Well,
because
any handling of toxic materials is a state issue. I mean, it's not a.
Right, well, and.
Well, he's just saying toxic materials. We have sound specs for that one
They-
machine. What if it's suddenly a different machine?
They need latitude to dial things in and
You
to,
bet.
you know, we say that this works, but it's actually, you know,
I
at the
know
very
it's
end, a
so-
slight modification, deviation, whatever. My concern was that it's the difference between what they're doing and what Monroe Industry does, where the guy's casting resin and, you know, it's heady just to walk into place. So that I do not want, and that is something that was not proposed, not talked about, anything like that. I don't believe it has anything to do with this. I just would like to know that it can never be altered to go that way.
Come up with a wording.
That's what
Or make a
I'm trying to figure out what it is that you mean and try to figure it
If
out.
anything comes to the point where it starts to become, let's say, a sound, vibration, odor nuisance, I mean, isn't that a thing that would trigger this to be, you know? Sure. I mean, because that's what
Yeah,
our
isn't it more
code.
like the OSHA thing,
That's
it's
the way
another state?
Yeah.
OSHA certainly if you're in toxic substances, that's a whole different level of stuff that, and OSHA will be all over that one.
So let's say here's another scenario, right? A large odor starts coming out of there and residents are affected. What would happen there? What's the town's recourse to say, all right,
Well, I think
stop?
the DEC would get a phone call, the state would get a phone call, and then you would probably try to speak to somebody that had a little bit of expertise in that from the state, or like from the county, and you get pointed into the right direction, and then see what can be done with it.
Is there anything under our code? Because now that, my point is, once this is approved, our code still says there can't be
Correct.
any nuisances.
Correct.
So something falls under those nuisances, I mean, do we have to wait for one of those agencies, or can we say, hey?
Oh, I think
that's
code
it.
could go in there, sure, code can go in there, and
So, all right. I wanna make sure that even once this is
violation
approved.
of the intent of the district, we're approving them on the premise that, you know, noise, glare, vibration,
Sure,
and
okay.
all that, but see, now you're, not just site plan, but you can go back to any site plan review.
It's the
Oh,
same for
yeah.
anybody.
You go to
That's-
any,
that's-
okay.
that's-
Whether
you
they
go
have a
to
special
any
use permit or
site
not.
plan
And
review,
that goes to what Dave's saying too.
and we're approving what's been proposed.
Right,
I mean, then you're gonna start saying, well, if you change it, that goes with any site plan.
okay.
I'm not looking to regulate an industry. I'm looking to make sure, because we've been through that with other topics, but knowing that the original intent is adhered to, that.
But our job is,
Yeah.
we have two jobs, site plan approval and subdivision.
Yeah.
And we can only look at what's on the table.
Right.
Right,
You know, this is what's been applied for, you know? It's just like if somebody applies for another site plan and it's a gas station and he changes it and all of a sudden it's something else, that triggers new land use. It states very clearly in code, any new land use activity triggers site plan. So the code officer goes down there, if there's complaints where it says, that's not what you were approved for, he stops and he comes back for site plan approval. That's not just with this one, it's with everything that we do.
okay.
So the recourse is simple code enforcement violation, and then you move on.
That's where it starts, that's where it starts.
So it's
And
covered
it's-
and, yeah.
Right,
Okay.
sounds
Then
like
let's-
it's covered.
We all okay with that?
Yeah.
Yes.
So why don't we just kind of, any Anything else in addition to what we've talked about? Why don't you just kind of,
We are gonna have our, just, we're talking about hours of delivery, but there will be hours of operation stipulated, right?
that's part,
If
yes.
you want a recommendation on it, that's the.
What
are your hours
is
of operation?
intended?
We're starting Monday through Friday, 7 to 3:30 is our production shift.
But you have other hours.
9 to 5,
Yeah.
we're working the office.
But, you know, like the
Monday through Friday, and Saturdays, we would be office and or production.
Yeah.
We could work Saturdays.
Sure. And, you know, I'm thinking the research group, and.
It's 9 to 5.
Well, That's what they always say, I've worked research,
Well, I'm signing the checks, it's 9 to 5.
Okay, so if you'll kick them out if they stay.
We just said about three things
Yeah, we just,
here.
let's kind of stay on task.
Well, no, but we just said hours of operation, and one was the office and one was production, and I can't write and think that fast. So which was which?
Be open from 7 to 5.
7 o'clock to 3:30 is production, 9 to 5 is administration.
Hang on, hang on.
So people will be there from 7 to 5.
Which days of the week?
Monday through Friday. Saturdays is at least a 6-hour day.
There's no trucking. Our concern is the noise,
Right, no
the
trucking.
safety, the impact on the neighborhood. I mean,
Okay, so Saturdays we could be
Right.
producing, but not, only with stuff that was brought in on
Yeah.
Friday.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct. Correct. I don't think we need to go there hours of operation.
well, that's what I thought he was
We're
asking.
concerned,
just wanna know.
we're kind of concerned with,
Well, that's
the
what he-
noise from trucking, correct?
Right, but that's what he was asking. I gotta write down what you said, I can understand what you're saying. So did you wanna write something down for Saturday? And I'm not saying you're making a recommendation, but did you wanna get an answer to that?
What if he wants to run a 7-day-a-week shift?
That's why I was
I
asking.
mean, is that,
That's not our,
exactly.
right. I don't
You
think
could
that's
make a
our.
recommendation if you chose, I'm just saying.
Correct, but I don't think it has any impact.
No, as long as they're
On
not
the
driving,
neighborhood.
bringing trucks.
Our issue is noise, sound, vibration to the neighborhood,
Well, that's what I'm saying.
local communities, as far as trucking.
Yeah, that would be my only concern. I mean, if somebody is gonna pull an all-nighter in their
God
office,
bless
working
them,
on
it's a job.
research,
It's a
it,
paycheck.
you know, I've done it enough.
Maybe.
What?
If they can
It's
run
usually
three-
Yeah, I mean, I've done it enough.
How
I don't
many
get
shifts
paid,
you
right?
run the
Yeah.
dairy farm?
So there's no checklist.
I know how they go.
So that's,
Correct.
we're concerned, exactly, we're concerned with the trucking issue, and it's already been identified. We recommend to zoning board of appeals, Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 3:30. And, okay, that's number one. Number two is no more than 15 total trucks a day, whether they're in or out. You can word that any way you want to. 15 trucks a day total. Okay. We got involved, I might be ahead of myself, what was our next?
No exterior dumping or outdoor storage of any
No.
materials except for finished product.
That's number three. And, no expansion of the exterior footprint. Which, it's gonna trigger site plan review.
Yeah,
So,
Jennifer's gonna wait for that.
It's all done.
what we need to, if we're gonna have to word it the way we want it, cause we're gonna vote on it, so it can get
Well,
referred
you
to.
changed your mind 4 times, because every time
Let's
you
go.
say a word, I keep crossing it out. First you were at any expansion would require, of the footprint would require this. Then you said no expansion without it, and then you went back to
I
any.
know. I got a little bit of help, don't say just me.
No, I'm just saying,
Yeah, well,
you're like, you wanna
accept
word it,
all
but
the
I keep
blame.
changing the wording based on direction the wind's blowing.
Jennifer, read what you had, cause I thought you.
Yeah,
The
the-
last thing I
English
wrote
The
major.
positive side.
was, any expansion of the building footprint will require site plan approval and modification of special use permit.
Board okay with that?
Yeah.
Mike, you okay with that? Well, it's gonna get changed anyway.
Or I can say no, because they can make it any way they want. This is
I
just
think you know
recommendation.
what the intent of the language
I
is.
do. And it says the same thing either way, like I said, it just,
Okay.
that's all I got.
That's 4 items.
I'll say,
Any, board, anything else?
No,
Okay, I will make a motion for those 4 items, our recommendations for conditions the zoning board of appeals should consider for the special use